Okay, today we're going to try to recharge the air conditioning system on my 1998 Ford Explorer. First thing we need to do is figure out where you're going to put the Freon. I call it Freon, I don't even know what to call it these days. Call it coolant. Normally, on most cars, when you raise the hood, come over here so you can see this. There'll be a little schematic. And as you can see here, it shows where the alternator is, right there. You'll be able to tell the alternator because there will be like copper coils in there. Then here we see the air conditioner compressor is the one to the right, so that's easy to find on this car. It's right there. Now, this compressor does pretty much what it says it does. It's going to compress the gas and feed it to what looks like a radiator over here. You can't see the actual air conditioner radiator because it's in front of the engine radiator, but you can tell it's there by looking at the hose coming out of the pump and follow it around, and you see how it comes out of the pump into the radiator. There is a valve here. You do not, I repeat, do not want to put your coolant into this valve. This is the high pressure valve. I think it's not filming, is it?
Yeah.
So, now that we know where the high pressure side is, and we know not to mess with that, we're going to look for the low pressure side. So, we go back to the compressor. You may want to come over here where you can see this part of it. And we see a larger hose coming out of it. This thing's got some insulation around it, but it's a lot fatter than the high pressure side. And you just follow that around. It may be a little complicated depending on your car, but follow it around and see where it goes. And we're following the same hose on up here. Don't pay attention to all this loose stuff. This is just insulation or protection on it. And it goes into, on this car, what's called a condenser. Your car may be set up a little different. But anyhow, the point is you're looking for the valve that comes from that compressor to the firewall. And here it is on this car. So, on your car, maybe a little different. You can Google it, get the schematic. May want to point at me. Yeah, on your car, you may just want to go online and Google location of the low pressure side on your AC system and put in whatever type of car you have. And it'll give you a little chart of where to start looking for. But it's always going to be the bigger of the two hoses coming out of that compressor. And in most cases, it's going to be an upright valve like this. All right, we're going to pause this and I'll show you what some helpful tools you might want to have with you is a good flashlight, powerful enough to shine a light during the daytime so that you can look for your stuff. You may also want to have some safety glasses. I don't have safety glasses because I can't really fit them over my eyeglasses. But the whole purpose of the safety glasses would be to prevent the coolant from spraying back into your eye in case you didn't have it connected properly. Do not drink beer or other alcoholic beverages while you're doing projects like this unless you're a certified mechanic, which I'm not. Today I'm going to be using something called AC Pro. I've used this on a previous car, an old 92 Isuzu. It worked just fine. And maybe at the end of this video I'll make some comments about putting this type of coolant into an old system on cars made before 1996. But I believe the directions here say wear gloves. That's because this thing's going to get pretty cool when you start releasing the coolant. Heck, it's 85 degrees out here today. I'm not worried about my hands getting cool. So I'm not going to wear gloves. You may also want pair of side cutters or something sharp, a knife or a pair of scissors, because this particular product is firmly secured with little plastic bands, and there's no easy way to get them off if you don't have a tool.
Go ahead.
So we'll put these side cutters in there and snip these things off. If you live out in the country like I do, you don't worry too much about putting these in the trash right now. I'm not endorsing a particular product, but this AC Pro is something I've used before, and I really like this long hose that comes with it. What we're going to do is show you how this valve attachment works. It's like a quick connect device that you would have on your garden hose or something. In other words, to put it onto that valve, you just push down. To remove it from the valve, you're going to put your fingers underneath this little lip and raise up, and that will release it. So push down to secure it, lift up to remove it. Now, if you've never done anything like this before, never used a quick connect device, first time you push it down, listen for a click. You'll feel it click. If you push it on there halfway and you start hearing a bunch of hissing, it means all you're doing is letting the rest of your Freon out of the system. Try again. Okay. This AC Pro is pretty expensive. It costs like 45 bucks. I think I paid $44.95 for it. But I really like it because it comes with a gauge. And the gauge is reusable. I've got one out in my shed. I didn't find it this morning, so I just went ahead and bought a new thing. You can probably save $10 buying a comparable product that does not have the gauge and the long hose. But heck, I went to my local parts place today. They had this for $44.95, but it comes with a $10 rebate, so $34.95. First thing you want to do is remove this little warning tag on here, and the way you do that is by simply unscrewing the gauge from the bottom. When you do that, you can unscrew, you can unscrew that little cap there. I don't know what the purpose of it is, possibly to prevent somebody from accidentally starting this thing up when you're not ready to. I don't know if the camera shows it, but this bottle is sealed. It's got a little aluminum thing, and when we put this on there, it's going to have a little peg that's going to open that little aluminum seal. So we'll go ahead and put that on there now. And we'll pause the video.
Okay.
Okay, we're back with our bottle of AC Pro, and you can see the face of the gauge is white, green, and red. Red is never good. There's also some little arrows on here, and what you want to do is sort of get the arrow into the temperature range. Excuse me while I look at this.
Try to get a close-up of that.
Yeah, close-up of that. That outer ring tells you what the ambient temperature is. All I did was go inside, turn on my TV, and my screensaver on my Roku device tells me it's 83 degrees. So I've got this situated over here in the around 83 degrees ambient temperature. I'm not sure how important that is, but I guess if you were trying to put coolant into your car when it's like 10 below zero, if you mess it up, you deserve to mess it up. Who the hell would do something like that? Or if you live out in the desert and it's 125 degrees, just remember you need to turn that thing up pretty high. Okay, next step, we are going to remove this cap This is the low side port. It just unscrews. If you've never done this before on your car and you got an older car, you may need a pair of pliers or something to sort of get it unscrewed. Do not lose that cap, because when we're finished, it's going back on there. Okay. Pause. All right. Now that we're ready to put the stuff in, what we want to do is crank up the car, let it run for a minute, and we're going to turn the air conditioner to max AC and turn the fan all the way to high. It may take me a minute or two to get it warmed up and everything. But we're going to start that way before we begin putting the coolant into the system.
Go.
Okay, make sure your car is in neutral or park if you have an automatic transmission. Start it up. Turn it to max AC and your fan on high all the way to coolant. Give it a few minutes. I mean, I'm still getting cool air out of here. It's not like my system is bad. It's just that I think it may need a shot. And this will probably be the situation you have when you notice your AC is not producing the way it did a couple of years ago. Okay, I think we're ready to go out here and start playing.
Go.
Okay, we've got the car cranked. We've got the air conditioner turned to max AC with the fan on high. Hope you can hear me, because the car is running. I know that's putting a lot of noise in here. But look at this. This is my air conditioner compressor. And this front part is called the clutch. And you see how it starts spinning and shuts off? If your clutch is not spinning at all, you may want to take the car to a mechanic and say, hey, I think I got a bigger problem than just Freon. I have changed the clutch in one of my older cars. It's very simple to do. Instead of changing the clutch, I was able to just buy a complete assembly at Advanced Auto, pretty cheap, and not only replace the clutch, but replace the compressor and everything all at one time. Okay, so we know the air conditioner system is functioning mechanically. Now let's go over here and see how much coolant we need to put in. Again, low side only. Do never pass this to the high side. Luckily for dummies like us, this hole will only fit on the low side. But if you're really crazy, you could probably force it down on the high side and lose your fluid. Push it down. Okay, it took me a couple of tries to get that firmly secured on there, but before I start pumping any coolant into it, I'm going to pull up, make sure that thing is definitely tight on there, and it is. Okay, you can see my gauge here. It shows that I'm up in the green, but it keeps going back and forth. I'm going to go ahead and add some to it. What you might want to do is shake this a few times as you're pressing the trigger. Alright, we're putting coolant into the system, and as we do that, shake it up and down, maybe back and forth a couple of times. And the whole purpose of that is because as this coolant comes out of this can, it's going to get really cold. And if you don't shake it, you can get ice crystals blocking the thing. Every once in a while, release the trigger, check the gauge. Oh yeah, we're really up there now. It's pretty much staying in the green the whole time, but I've got quite a bit of coolant left in the can, so I'm gonna put some more.
Yeah. Make it
Well,
Arctic
you don't
cold.
want to put too much in. You always want to keep it in the green.
Gotta wait for the compressor.
And you'll notice that the compressor is cycling less frequently now. It means it's getting back to where it needs to be.
Okay.
I have enough coolant in here. I'm going to take it all the way up to the limit of the green. All right, at this point I've put in probably a half to 2/3 of this can. Like I said earlier, my system wasn't all the way discharged. And now you can see that it's holding pretty steady in the lower part of the green. And the compressor, the clutch on the compressor is not cycling on and off. That wasn't. So, I've got a little bit left. I got some green left. We're going to push the handle and put some more in. You do not get a reading when you're actually pumping the coolant into the system. You have to wait till you release the handle, and that'll give you a reading. Oh man, we're getting there. It may take this whole can.
Money well spent.
Could be. I mean, first time I ever worked on an air conditioner was on my 92 Isuzu, and I'd taken it to a place in Raleigh, North Carolina, and they gave me an estimate of $1,200 to get that thing running.
Wow.
And for less than $200, I was able to do it by myself by using just a repairman. And I have no particular skills.
Oh yeah.
Looking better and better. In for a penny, in for a pound, as long as I don't get into the red. We're going to keep doing this. Probably pretty boring watching my gauge, but I'm going to keep the camera going just in case something weird happens.
Yeah.
We'll catch that on film. Alright, I'm really up in the green now. I think it is going to take this whole can. You probably can't see this because it's such a hot day, but there's actual frost developing on this can. I was going to touch it and see how cool it's getting.
No good.
So it'll get cool enough to freeze this camera. You should be able to feel it getting lighter and lighter as you do this. If it quits taking it, you just have to wait a while and give it a chance to thaw out. Right now I'm about 40 psi, and you can read that on the gauge there.
So how long do you think total it would take? Hold on, something happened.
It's recording.
Okay. So how long do you think it would take to empty a whole can?
10 or 15 minutes.
Okay.
I think I've probably been doing this about 5 or 6 minutes, and I'm almost done with the can. Way up in the green now. Just let it rest. But I think you see how we do this. I hate to make you watch me put this whole can in. Keep shaking it once in a while. I really like the idea of having a gauge on here. I think that's about all I'm going to put in. I'm pretty close to 35 psi.
And the compressor is still not turning on and off. It's
Right.
doing good now.
It's doing real good. Okay, around 45 psi. Not quite, but pretty close. The can is almost empty. The nice thing about this AC Pro is that you can buy additional cans, and you don't need to buy the entire system like this. You can just take a new can, a refill can, and use the same gauge attachment, screw right onto it the way we did when we started this project. Alright, I think that's good enough. So we'll pause this and I'll show you how to remove this assembly from the Alright, we've pretty much got this can empty. And what we're going to do is put our thumb on top and our fingers underneath this little lip and just squeeze and it pops right off. Replace the cap on the low side valve. You don't want dirt getting in there. It'll be a mess years from now when you have to do this again. See it back on?
Now, if someone had to do this every year, could there possibly be a leak?
Yeah, probably. And there's some dye you can buy. You can buy cans of stuff. I don't know if you can buy this particular brand.
Stop leak.
You can buy coolant that has a dye in it. You think you have a leak in your system, and it'll show you where it's leaking. But if you're doing this every year or two, that's not that unusual.
Okay.
So, all right. I'm going to go sit in the car and see if it feels any.
Go.
Woo! This feels so cool. And it was that simple. You know, 15-minute project, that's all it takes. So, I guess you can get a thermometer out here and see how successful you were. But all I need to do is sit here. I've got my doors open and the back latch open. And it feels really comfortable in my car now. $44, $10 back on the rebate, $35, 15 minutes of time. And didn't have to drop my car off at a shop and didn't have to pay hundreds of dollars to have magic occur. That pretty much concludes this part of the video, but for people who have an older car, I got a PS for you. We'll get to that in just a minute.
Go.
Okay. So, that's how easy it is to fix up your old car. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I had a 92 Isuzu, and when I went to get the Freon changed in that thing, years after I'd bought the car, I found out that it was going to cost a lot of money because it did not take the new type of Freon. My brother had a similar car. He said that he was afraid to put the new type of Freon into an old system. He took his to a local mechanic, and our next trip we took, he had what we call Black Death. Somehow or another, all his O-rings and everything in his air conditioning system had pretty much melted, and we don't know whose fault it was. It's possible that mechanic had oil on his hands or something, but instead I took the shortcut and did pretty much what we saw today. Now, the valves on that can of AC Pro or any kind of R134A that you buy today will not fit the fittings on those older cars before 1996. But go to Advanced Auto or any place like that, for about 35 bucks you can get a conversion kit where you can just add little valves to the top of the valves there, and the new cans will fit. I'm not endorsing that, I'm just telling you my experience. I think I kept that car 12 years after I made the conversion, and every couple of years I was putting the new type of Freon in it. It was perfect. Never had a minute's problem. And it cost me 35 bucks. So, it's up to you if you want to take the risk. All I can say is that, hey, it worked great for me. Hope this was helpful. I'm ready to go fishing now. Bring it on, summer.